Did you know? The idea for Pokemon Go partly came from an April Fool's publicity stunt in 2014. The stunt saw Google and the Pokemon Company teaming up with a small game that challenged users to find Pokemon in the Google Maps mobile app. Players could catch 151 Pokemon from various generations and would be crowned Pokemon Master if they caught them all, with the exception of Mew. Interestingly, the same group that made the April Fool's video also created the original trailer for Pokemon Go. Although the April Fool's joke was the catalyst for Pokemon Go's creation, the history of how the game came to be goes back even farther. Pokemon Go developer Niantic Inc. have been experimenting with map-based app projects for several years now. Members of its staff had worked with Google Maps and even on the Pokemon April Fool's joke, and Niantic founder John Hanke helped create Google Earth. Their first published app was called Field Trip, which suggested interesting places to visit near the user's location. The app's intended purpose was to help and encourage people to explore the world around them. Niantic took the basic premise of Field Trip and expanded upon it with their next project titled Ingress. Ingress is an augmented reality turf war game that uses a map interface for players to locate and capture hotspots called portals. The two opposing factions either capture existing portals or create new portals by submitting real-world landmarks to Niantic. Niantic wanted to create an open, real-world gaming platform that anyone could build upon or modify. Ingress was constructed with this in mind and would be used by Google and Niantic to help external partners and clients build their own games. By early 2015, Google had become a massive corporation that had many other companies and teams within it. It was decided that several of these entities would be sectioned off into a holding company called Alphabet Inc. This would give the core Google company more direction and give companies under Alphabet more freedom. Niantic was one of the teams that were sectioned off and separated from Google in 2015. While at Google, Niantic was somewhat restricted and couldn't be given any special treatment while using Google's platforms. If Niantic were given favorable treatment, other developers might feel disadvantaged and cut ties with Google altogether. Separating from Google also gave Niantic the opportunity to work with whoever they wanted, including companies that might be afraid of making deals with a big name like Google. The 2014 April Fool's joke had previously built relations between Google and Nintendo, and Niantic used these connections to their advantage. Niantic pitched Nintendo and the Pokemon Company the idea of combining Pokemon and their existing Ingress technology. To Niantic's surprise, they found that the Pokemon Company CEO, Tsunekazu Ishihara, and his wife were both Ingress players. Ishihara and John Hanke realized their visions for a map-based Pokemon game were very close, and their meetings went well. In late 2015, Google, Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company invested an initial $20 million in Niantic to show their support and help fund development of Pokemon Go. Niantic then began the process of redesigning their platform to work with the Pokemon world. They had previously gathered geographical data and images from Ingress players. While playing Ingress, users were encouraged to document publicly accessible buildings, locations, and works of art so that they could be turned into portals. The team used this information to define the locations of thousands of Pokestops and gyms in Pokemon Go. This is also why many Pokestops are churches. The Pokemon Company provided many essential assets during development. These included Pokemon Cries and 3D models, which were actually reused from Pokemon X and Y. Both the models and animations are identical, which was done to save time and ensure that the game's art was consistent with other Pokemon titles. Series developer Junichi Masuda also composed new music for Pokemon Go and helped Niantic develop the game's Pokeball capture mechanic and playtest the game. Nintendo's Satoru Iwata also got involved with Pokemon Go's development, and it was one of the last projects he was involved with before his passing. Although it's been stated in many articles online, Iwata didn't actually come up with the concept for Pokemon Go or the April Fool's Day Pokemon Challenge. In a Famitsu interview translated by Nintendo Everything, it was said that a developer named Tatsuo Nojima was responsible for the idea. And although Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto was on stage during the game's reveal, Miyamoto actually had very little to do with the game other than give it his blessing. With Pokemon Go, Niantic had to find a balance between pleasing Pokemon fans and making sure casual players understood the game. Core elements of the franchise, such as catching and leveling up Pokemon, are present, but Niantic almost entirely left out one essential part of the game. According to John Hanke, the team seriously considered dropping the ability to evolve Pokemon. They were afraid that mobile users who hadn't previously played Pokemon wouldn't understand the mechanic of evolving Pokemon into new forms. In beta footage for the game, it was shown that Pokemon could evolve through the use of evolution shards. These evolution shards were a precursor to candy and were Pokemon specific. Beta footage also shows that Team Mystic, Valor, and Instinct had no sigils and were simply called Team Blue, Red, and Yellow. Back when Pokemon Go was officially announced, Niantic stated that Pokemon Go would enter closed beta at the end of 2015. However, beta testing didn't occur until 2016. Although it takes most of its cues from the video games, Pokemon Go also contains multiple references to the Pokemon anime. If the player doesn't try to engage with Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle in any way and keeps walking, they will disappear and respawn. When they respawn for the 4th time, Pikachu will appear alongside them. This was clearly a reference to Ash Ketchum being stuck with Pikachu as his starter in the anime, which was also referenced in Pokemon Yellow. There's actually another even more obscure reference to the anime in the game too. Which Pokemon Eevee will evolve into in Pokemon Go is almost entirely random. However, there is one proven way to choose how it evolves. In the 40th episode of the Pokemon anime, there are 3 brothers that each evolve their Eevees into different Pokemon. Rainer evolves his into a Vaporeon, Sparky turned his into a Jolteon, and Pyro has a Flareon. Before evolving Eevee in the game, naming it Rainer, Sparky, or Pyro will transform it into Vaporeon, Jolteon, or Flareon respectively. Did you also know that there's an actual genus of pterosaur named after Aerodactyl? Or that there was originally going to be a Pokemon based on the first clone mammal, Dolly the sheep? For more Pokemon facts, click the annotation on screen to watch the Did You Know Gaming video on Pokemon and real life. Don't forget to subscribe to Did You Know Gaming for more facts and trivia, and if you like this video, consider giving it a like and a share. And if you want to watch a video on a Pokemon game that is not nearly the worldwide phenomenon that Pokemon Go is, check out my video on Pokemon Typing Adventure. It's a game where you type and you adventure, and it was only released in Japan and Europe and never came to America. Go check out my video and subscribe, please. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye!